I have a big project on my garage today, but before I get into that, I want to discuss some updates on both my M5 and my 911. I experienced a small accident with my M5, so I'll explain what happened and how I fixed it. I also got some new parts for my 911. Later, a package comes in, which is going to be focusing on the lighting in my garage. On today's off-topic discussion, I'll be talking about the newest addition to my tools, which will be a big help in future projects. I left off on the last episode talking about how I'm going to provide some updates for both my 911 and my M5. But today the highlight's mainly going to be on some updates on my garage. But before I dive into that, let's go into the garage because I have an update on both cars. The way the lighting on my garage is set up is I have the two LEDs right in the middle, and then I have the same LED bar towards the back. So it mainly fills in the light towards this half of the garage. But on this side, I mainly rely on the halogen bulb right here. Even though I have the highest lumens on this bulb, it's still not that bright in this area. So my solution to this is I'm going to get the hexagon lights that goes from this end to the other. The set that I bought should fill up this area here pretty well. So I'm going to have to move my cars back a little bit so that I have this much space to operate. I'll start off talking about some updates on my M5 because it happened recently and I just fixed it. So let me turn around and show you what happened. The other day I decided to take my M5 to take my kids to school, and just maybe about a block away there's a little dip that I've gone through 1,000 times, but I was distracted, and so I took that dip straight, and what happened is it scooped down to where the front lip went all the way back. And so see if you can see it right here in this area. You can see there's a lot of rash from the dip, and what happened was it actually went down to where I couldn't even go forward anymore. So on the way back home I had to just drive on reverse to get to my garage, and I even had to park my car backwards this way because I couldn't go forward. So what I did was I lifted the car up, and I got all the screws that's securing this lip, and then this time on the middle bracket that I used to secure, I used bolt washers and nuts to secure it so it doesn't happen again. And then the screws over here, I re-drilled some of the secure points so that way I have some new threads to secure the lip more stronger. The next update is my 911. So I'm going to lift up my garage so I can go to the back and show you what I got. One of the things that I like about my 911 is how versatile it is. I recently removed my 20-inch wheels and put back the stock lobster forks, which are 19s, and immediately it changes the look of the car. So with that said, I want to be able to have that flexibility, and what I'm talking about is the GT wing. So the problem with this setup that I have right now is I cut the louvers so that I can secure the brackets for the GT wing. And if I wanted to take out this GT wing, that opening on both sides will be very visible. So in order to retain a clean look, I tried to source a new set of louvers, and not many people were selling the louvers by itself. And if they did, some were selling it for more than $500. And I didn't need the whole engine cover, I just need the louvers. So I've been looking for the last year and a half or so for someone just selling the louvers. And I came across a few people that were selling the whole set. So I thought that it would be pretty practical if I had the whole set. That way, if I want to remove the GT wing, I don't have to remove them from the brackets. Rather, I could just remove it from the hinges on both sides, disconnect the harness, and put on the engine cover that has the OEM louvers. So I was able to finally source one, and instead of going with a direct replacement for a 997.1. I actually went with a 97.2 C4S. So if you notice the difference between the two is the bottom strip here on the C4S on the .2s has that reflector. So I decided that if I'm going to be able to replace this, might as well replace it with something a little bit different. So my eye's been out looking for this particular engine cover for a while now, and they've been going well over $1,000 for this particular type of engine cover with the reflectors. And just the reflector strip, if you were to replace it, that's more than $1,000. So it was pretty difficult to find someone that was selling this particular engine cover for a reasonable price. Luckily, I was rewarded with my patience, and I found someone just about an hour away that was selling it for dirt cheap. So once I was able to secure the deal, I could start making some plans to have it prepped for paint. So that way, when I want to remove the GT wing and put back the wingless OEM cover, I could do that pretty easily. So what I've done so far is I've taken out all the guts on this cover. So this comes out. You can see how bare it is right now. All the mechanical pieces have been removed from this engine cover. And what I'm going to do is flip it over, paint everything black, same thing with the louvers. And then once that's cured, fully cured, I'm going to color match the engine cover and the louvers to make it look OEM, just like what I'm doing right now. This will save me a lot of time from having to change up things with having a direct replacement. And what I'm thinking of is with my 20s, I want to go wingless because I kind of like the look with it. And then on my 19s, I have the GT wing, especially if I want to take it to the track. Now that I got those updates out of the way, I'm going to focus now on putting on my new hexagon lights. I've got my hexagon light set on my desk right here. It's actually upside down because I opened it up when it first arrived, but I'm going to flip it over and show you the contents of what's inside. One of the things that I haven't done yet is check out all the contents. So I haven't verified if all the pieces are here. This outlet here, I actually ended up buying from a different store. I just stuffed it in the box. That way I can keep everything together. It looks like it has some information here about the lights. And then here's the power connector. So this looks like this is the main source. And then here are all the fittings, depending on which part of the hexagon we're connecting. So I'm going to take out all the contents, verify if all the pieces are here. And what I want to do for the first step is put together the first hexagon. So that way I know how much space this is going to be taking up on my ceiling. My plan is to start in the middle. Now I'm not going to measure the middle of the garage because it's pretty clear that the lighting over here is in the middle of the garage. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to eyeball it, follow the lines that go all the way to the middle here. This middle part here I'm definitely going to measure, but with the 8 hexagon lights that I have set up, I'm going to have to find the middle, which is roughly around here, and I'm going to do 4 this way and then 4 this way. It's going to be a challenge to film while I'm installing my hexagon lights on the front side of my garage. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have the camera on the bottom. I'm going to take some pictures of every step of the way so you can see the progress. So let me drop those slides. This is the new lighting setup. I have the hexagon lights, LEDs in the front, and then the 2 LED bars here, and then one back here. It's a big difference as far as lighting in my garage, and it totally changes the environment. The way I set up my power supply is directly through the old light in the garage. So I removed the bulb because it's not going to be practical to have it now that I have the LEDs up here. So I removed it, and there's an adapter here that has an outlet. So there is about maybe just like 2 feet of wiggle room here, and the extension cord that I have is 6 feet. So what I did to clean up the power wire is I got my staple gun and lined it up all the way down here. And because there's a lot more allowance down here, I just made a little U shape down here to connect to the outlet. And that's what powers the hexagon LED lights. As far as mounting, the approach that I did was I just did the self-tapping screws because these light bars are extremely light. And the other option is to either hang it from the ceiling, which I didn't want to do. And then the second option was to screw down the snap-on pins. And with the snap-on pins and drywall, it's going to be delicate when I'm taking it on and putting it off. So I didn't want to risk making any extra holes on my ceiling. So I just went with the self-tapping screws all around, and it's very secure. One of the new tools that I got for my garage is actually right down here. So I want to talk about it because it's going to be a big help with all the work that I do here, in addition to what I've got already. Raising my cars has been a pretty frequent activity to me when I'm working my cars. So having a reliable hydraulic jack is very important to me. Right now I have 2 1.5 ton low profile jacks. But because of my recent purchase with my QX56, as well as the bigger jobs that I'm doing on my M5, I need to find something that's a little bit bigger. I've rearranged now some things on my garage to where I could park my hydraulic jacks underneath my workbench. So I have my workbench up here, I cleared some things around there, and now I have the hydraulic jacks, all 3 of them here. So I got both my 1.5 tons side by side, and on the end my 3 ton. And just over here beside my fridge, I have all the bars. So if I need to use these hydraulic jacks, the bars for it is really easy access. There's a big advantage to having a 3-ton hydraulic jack. I'm able to raise my car with less pumps, and it also saves me time because with the smaller 1.5 ton hydraulic jacks, I have to pump it quite a bit of times to get it to the desired level. Whereas with the 3-ton jack, now I could just do a couple pumps and my tires are already off in the air. Not only that, it allows me to raise my car higher than the 1.5 ton. I'm gonna take a break and have lunch with my family, and while I'm out, I'm gonna do some car spotting. On the next episode, I'm going to be doing some cruising with the guys. We weren't able to cruise last month. Instead, we did the tech day, but on this month, we're gonna take some time out to cruise to an event. There's 2 that's going on this coming weekend, so we haven't decided which one to go to, but I'll definitely fill you in on the next episode. So that's gonna do it for this episode. Thanks for joining, and we'll see you on the next one.